We got a special show for you today. We're getting ready for the Kings and the Warriors coming up tomorrow. And you know the routine. The winner goes on, the loser, summer vacation. And we are going to break it down with Rhino in Sacktown. We got Larry Krueger from his own YouTube channel. He's a big-time host in the Bay Area. You know, I don't really have to give him an introduction. He was my intern back at Channel 31, and the one and only Jerry Reynolds. So we're all here. Make sure you check out Larry the Krug Show on YouTube. It is phenomenal. He does a great job. Gentlemen, you ready to roll? How the hell are you? Larry, good to see you, man. It's been a while.
Grant, great to see you. Thanks for inviting me. I'm excited for tomorrow night and excited for the stream. I'm glad to be here.
All right, Jerry, here we go. 48 minutes of basketball, single elimination. It's like March Madness. Kings really faltered coming down the stretch, Jerry. They lost 6 of 10. The Warriors played very well. They won 8 of 10, and the Warriors are healthy. It's going to take an A-plus game, in my opinion, for the Kings to beat the Warriors, although the last 3 games have been decided by 1 point, Jerry, but that was with Monk and Herter. Those guys aren't available tomorrow.
Yeah, Monk ain't walking through that door. And, and that's I just think he really means so much to this team because late in games, he's another guy who could go get a shot, create a shot against good defense. And they just don't have that. I mean, they've added some things, I think, with Keon Ellis and Davion Mitchell. They've added some defensive ability that might give the Warriors a little trouble. But the truth is, I'm watching the Warriors, just like I'm sure like you guys, and they're playing really well at the end of the year.
Yes, they are.
They look a little bit like the old Warriors, and just the thing that scares me the most, just 2 things. The reason I think it's going to be tough for the Kings: a guy named Steph Curry. They got the best player, and they got the best coach. And no disrespect to Mike Brown, but I mean Kerr's been there, done that, and really in these kind of games, adjustments and things like that really do come into play.
Ryan, what do you think the number 1 key to the game tomorrow?
Transition and turnovers. Absolutely. We know the Warriors can be careless with the ball. The Kings can too at times, but the Kings' secret sauce as of late has been pressure and getting into passing lanes. I really think that is where they have to take advantage.
Larry, are the Warriors playing their best basketball of the season right now?
Well, I mean, it looks like it, Grant, but you know what? I think it might be a little bit of a mirage, to be completely honest. I don't know if you caught them against New Orleans, but Steph Curry is old. Steph Curry is hurt. He rolled his ankle in that game. I think Sacramento's going to get him in this game. And I'll tell you why, because I think Fox is going to play at a speed, and I don't think Curry's going to be able to stay with him. Curry's not Curry right now. He doesn't look like Curry. And then he rolled the ankle pretty badly. He's had ankle problems in the past. Yeah, the Warriors are playing really well. But, I don't know if you caught the last couple games. They were life and death to beat Utah. They lost to New Orleans. They're going to have Trace Jackson-Davis on Sabonis. They got a bunch of guys like Clay who, if it doesn't start falling for them, they get into kind of mental funks. But I like the Kings because of Fox against Curry. I really
Very interesting. Very interesting. So, I mean, it'd be just a guess, but not 100%. What would you put Curry at right now if you had to guess for tomorrow?
Maybe 70%.
Yeah.
I mean, the Warriors won 9 of 11 heading into the play-in, and they were feeling really good. But they're 3-12 or something this year on games decided by 3 points or less. Sacramento's got the home floor. Golden State should be in a spot where they don't press. They just beat Sacramento in Game 7. But that Curry and the Curry that I think is going to show up in this game are dramatically different.
Wow. Interesting. Ryan, I don't think being at home is a factor for the Kings. I really don't. There's nothing that I've seen on the Kings' home floor this year that would tell me that that's an advantage for them.
Yeah, I am with you, Grant. And if anything, I feel like, Larry, that could maybe fire the Lakers up. If anything, that team likes to play the heel a little bit, likes to be the villain. And certainly I would think they kind of have the mental advantage coming into Sacramento, coming off of last year and just the series overall.
I agree with you. But, last year's team and this year's team are different. And Golden State has expended a lot of – I kind of look at it like a horse race. Where, on the back stretch, horse is really coming, and then you get into the lane, and it's like, do they have enough to fire? And I don't think Golden State has enough to fire here. Now, that there's a lot of people that be like, you're dead wrong. Kings can't beat the Warriors without Monk and without Herter. Yeah, I get that, but I just think that Fox can be the difference against Curry. I don't like the way Curry's looking right now. He's not taking care of the basketball. He's clearly fatigued. It's amazing. At the beginning of the year, I mean, last year he looked young. At the beginning of the year, he looked young. He looks old right now.
Jerry, in the games that we watched between the Kings and the Warriors last year, and really for the whole season, Golden State had turnover problems. Keep an eye on that tomorrow, Jerry. How many turnovers will the Warriors get? Because in a lot of the games that the Kings won against Golden State last year, that was a determining factor.
Yeah, and one thing that works for the Kings a little bit, they're a better defensive team than they were not only last year, but the second half of the year. They're a much better defensive team. I thought Larry a good point on the horse racing in the backstretch. Now, one thing though, I would say it depends a little bit on that jockey too, and the Golden State jockey's pretty good, but I do. The other thing about Monk is in last year's playoffs, I mean, he was the Kings' best player.
Yes.
He was better than Fox. He was clearly a lot better than anybody. He was better than anybody else. And I thought he was a tougher matchup for him. And so, I think that's just a factor. One other thing on Curry, though, I do think the Kings are defensively better prepared for him. Terrence Davis isn't walking through that door. Basically, I mean, with Keon Ellis and De'Aaron himself is a much better defender than he was last year, more active, and then Davion Mitchell. And if I'm Mike Brown, I'm showing him all three guys at different times, just because of what you said, that age and stamina at some point might come into it.
Jerry, I think one of the elephants in the room, and Larry, maybe you can address this as well, is the Kings lately have been doubling the post. And we're trying to figure out, I think I have a beat on it. I saw New Orleans did that to Klay Thompson, and Klay was able to get out of it pretty easily. So when you said the jockey, Jerry, I'm thinking, what is Mike Brown's strategy going to be?
Well, I don't know. I hope he doesn't, I know when he doubled Valanciunas, I about came out of my chair, but, and played Zion Williamson head up. I was having a tough time with that. But, obviously Steph has got to be their focus, but, Larry knows his team a lot better. I mean, I think they're healthy and they're probably a little deeper than they were last year, really.
That's the thing. The Warriors are very deep. They're one of the deepest teams in the league, but they're not going to have Peyton, who's their best on-ball defender. And it just seems like Golden State, Kerr has done a masterful job as far as convincing Golden State that, it's just been kind of circumstances and this and that they're ready to go on a deep run. And, they're going to take the floor with tremendous confidence, where the Kings, aren't necessarily going to take the floor with tremendous confidence. But the Kings have a decided advantage as far as who's guarding Sabonis. Last year it was Looney. This year they have Trace Jackson Davis. What kind of conviction does Steve Kerr have in his rotations? Does he stay with Trace Jackson Davis if Sabonis lights him up early? That to me is going to be really interesting. And can Curry with the bum ankle, just rolled the thing just a couple days ago. And he came in, and I don't know if you caught the end of that New Orleans game. He came into a game that they had kind of taken the emotion and had the momentum and turned it over 3 quick times. Yeah. So we all know that Steph Curry, and that if he can find that level, he can take this thing over. But I'm questioning whether he can find that level. I don't think this is the Steph Curry that you guys are thinking of. You're thinking of the Steph that went for 50 in Game 7, and that's not the Steph. That's not the Steph that I saw the other night. And that Steph has looked really, really fatigued in the last week to 10 days. So
interesting.
I like Sacramento. I think Fox is going to race up and down the floor, and Sabonis is going to show he's an all-star, and those guys are going to carry Sacramento through.
What about the championship pedigree of this Warriors team? You know, I think of the Warriors, and I'm not comparing this team in any way, shape, or form to the team that put rings on their finger. But the point is, they've been in this situation so many times. One game where if you lose, your season's over. I mean, the intangibles favor Golden State, don't they, Jerry?
Well, yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, you've got guys that have been there, done it many times. It's not to say they're clearly not the same team, and age certainly is a factor, but maybe for one game it could be less of a factor. I mean, as opposed to a 7-game series. But yeah, they scare me. I do think the Kings key for the Kings is really Harrison Barnes and Keegan Murray have to score. They have to score, both of them. They don't have to score 40, but I mean, you need probably 35 points out of those guys to make up some of what you're just not going to get from Malik Monk. And the bench is not very deep, but in one game, it doesn't need to be as deep. You play your best players more. And so that's one advantage, clearly advantage I think the Warriors have that might not be as big an advantage as you would normally think.
I'm supposed to be the Warrior guy, but and I'm a lifelong Warrior fan. I watch these guys pretty close. To me, though, sports, whether we're talking about the NFL, MLB, or NBA, you win when you have guys in their prime. And the Warriors have Trace Jackson Davis, Kuminga, and Pajemski, babies, rookies. Kuminga's 21. And then they got these old guys hanging around who have pedigree. But nobody outside of Wiggins on this roster is in their prime. Then you flip the page over to Sacramento, and I understand the narrative. They don't have Monk. They're going to need Davion Mitchell to score some points for them. I mean, they're going to need points everywhere they can find it. But you look at their core, they've got 4 or 5 guys who are still in the prime of their career. And I think that's in a one game. If this were a 7-game series where Golden State could feel them out, break them down, Kerr's a genius. He could make some adjustments. Their ball movement, body movement would bother Sacramento. The lack of scoring for the Kings in the long series would, I think, burn them. In a one-gamer, I'll take the team with more guys in their prime who are healthier, fresher. And to me, that's Sacramento.
Well, a very interesting point. Larry Krueger, nice enough to join us, and you really need to check out the Krug Show, his YouTube channel. It's outstanding. Larry, you've done amazing work there, man. I don't want to, get off on a tangent here, but I'm really proud of what you've been able to build on your YouTube channel. How many subscribers you have now?
Like 41,000, and it's been great. It's been a couple of years awesome in the making, and we have a lot of fun. We talk a lot of Niners, a lot of Giants, a lot of Warriors, and this time of year we got a lot of Kings fans, because you got to remember a lot of the fans are Niner fans, but Niner fans are also Kings fans. So we do have quite a bit of Sacramento fans in the audience.
Jerry and Ryan, I want to ask you this, and Ryan, I'll start with you. The Kings faltered big time coming down the stretch. The 1-3 road trip, they 2 huge home games back-to-back against New Orleans. They blew the game against Phoenix, lost by 1 point. Where do you think the confidence level of Sacramento is right now?
I think it's pretty good, Grant, because the record's not great, but they also were in the 3-minute report or the 2-minute report 3 times in 6 games. And I'm not saying they would have won those games, but they would have had an opportunity to win those games. Now, in terms of a 1-game sample size, you got to think that the guys that are going into it, at least they know their roles. Before, you weren't sure what Mike Brown was going to do off of the bench. So, Davion's going to get some minutes, etc. So I'm looking to see what their identity is. And really, Larry, the key that you're talking about with De'Aaron Fox, the thing I worry about is decision-making, because he's relied heavily on the 3-ball this season as opposed to going by players and getting to the rim.
Well, there's no question, there's flaws in Fox's game. He's not as good a player as Steph Curry, but as far as can Steph stay in front of him, Fox to me is just an electric player, and you need 2 good ankles to stay in front of him. And I'm going to be, and the Warriors' secret weapon at times has been GP2, right? GP2 Peyton is a suffocating Michael Cooper-like on-ball defender, maybe one of the best I've seen, really. I mean, you could be dribbling with your right hand. He could be on your left side. He can pick you with the ridiculous length that he has. And to not have him, he's out, I believe, with a calf strain. I think that's a major loss for Golden State.
Yeah.
Jerry, you love Gary Payton. We talked about him a lot last year. I think Larry hit on something that is a big loss for them. He is so important to what they do coming off the bench with his defense.
He's a baller. I mean, he really is just a baller. I mean, the guy, he's going to impact the game every time he gets in there. Really, he's one of those guys that every team in the league could use him in some way. That's what you call a valuable reserve. And I think the Warriors will definitely miss him because he creates problems for Fox or whoever that they put him on. So that's probably good for the Kings there. I do think the Kings really need to press to the Warriors a little bit, pick up quicker, double some of the guards. I mean, they will turn it over.
Yes, they will.
And I mean, in the less you have to play in the half court against them, the better off you'll be. Not that they're a great half court defensive team, but I just think the Kings are so much better in transition without a defense being set.
Yep.
Larry, give me a name other than Steph Curry. If the Warriors win, who's going to be the guy that has to really produce? If we don't talk about Curry, leave him on the back burner for right now. Who's that second guy on the Warriors that they have to have the production? They have to have a good game if they're going to win tomorrow night.
Well, I guess it would be easy to say Wiggins because Wiggins is in the prime of his career and he's capable, but he's not in the right mental space. I would say it's Jonathan Kuminga. Kuminga has, I don't know how much you've watched of Kuminga in the last 2 months, Grant, but Kuminga is emerged as a star. I mean, he always had the explosive movements, the springiness, the unbelievable forays to the hoop with explosion. But now he's pulling up and throwing the lob. He's pulling up and finding somebody underneath for a little bunny. I mean, he's not just going to the rim or shooting it from the perimeter. He's attacking the rim with ferocity and still finding guys and making the right basketball play. It's really, I give Golden State's coaching staff tremendous credit. They have developed this kid. And if he has good nights, he has bad nights. If he has a big Kuminga night, that could carry Golden State all the way through.
Ryan, do you think that if the Kings win tomorrow, regardless of what would happen in the game 48 hours later against the loser of the Lakers or the Pelicans, even if they were to lose that game, that would make this season maybe not a step forward, but not a step back? I mean, how much importance do you put on this game tomorrow for the Kings based on the 3 seed last year and a 7-game series against the Warriors?
I think it's probably more important to the franchise than it would be the fan base. And I know that a lot of Kings fans are looking to get that revenge on the Warriors and possibly be the icing on the cake to the end of the dynasty. But it's just that lift. We've kind of lamented and looked back on the season a little bit. We'll do more afterwards. But what if the Kings really hang their hat on this season? And I think that would be the one thing they would be able to do other than developing Keon Ellis in the second half of the season.
Jerry, what do you think about that?
Well, I think it would help tremendously, but I think without getting into the playoffs, I think most people would be disappointed with that. A team that got in the playoffs last year was expected. I don't think logical people expected them to be third in the West again, but certainly expected them to probably be in the top 6 and be in the playoffs. So hey, playoffs. We're talking playoffs.
Yeah, well, the last big game the Warriors did have was that New Orleans game. And what surprised me about that, Larry, was that the Pelicans just played the night before in Sacramento. And obviously, it was a back-to-back. It was a huge win for them. And I was impressed how they went into San Francisco the next night and beat the Warriors. You think that's the team is more like the Warriors than instead of the team that won 9 of 11? I mean, you're looking at the most recent. I don't count the last game because the Warriors rested guys. But is that the game that you point to that kind of gives you the red flags?
I mean, let's be honest. The Pelicans are really a good basketball team. I mean, but they beat the Warriors twice in that game, Grant. They dominated them in the second quarter. They put up 45 in that second quarter, and Golden State couldn't stop the bleeding. And then they beat them again in the fourth quarter. I mean, they beat them in the second quarter. They beat them in the fourth quarter. let's give the Pelicans theirs as far as Trey Murphy is, can flat out shoot it. McCollum
Boy, oh boy.
came up with big shots. Valanciunas, Herb Jones is a very underrated player, and Zion's come of age. So,
Yep.
I mean, they're no picnic for anybody. And maybe they just had Golden State's number, but I mean,
They're a tough matchup.
they are a tough team. They really are.
Well,
All right,
Larry,
hey,
Golden.
real quickly, I want to get this in. I want to thank our sponsors, New Works Plumbing of Sacramento, for your plumbing needs and repairs. Just go to sacserviceplumbing.com or call the number on your screen. New Works Plumbing, they're available around the clock 24/7. They've got a fix for you. And don't forget about Bennett's. What a great place for your weekend brunch, the weekend prime rib, prime seafood and steak at Bennett's Restaurants. 3 locations, Sacramento, Roseville, and the Blue Oaks Town Center, their new West Side Grill in Rockland. It is awesome. Go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Make a reservation and more. That's Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Go ahead, Rhino. I didn't mean to cut you off there, buddy.
I was going to say, conversely, Larry, the Warriors blew out the Pelicans twice in this season, which has shown that they can match up with them. The Kings have been unable to do so. Is that more of the Warrior style or just the Pelicans and matchups individually?
Well, the Warriors have been a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde team. I mean, if you get the Warriors, I mean, did you guys see Warriors Lakers last week when the Warriors just absolutely, lit the building ablaze? I mean, you get the Warriors on the wrong night when Klay Thompson's, feeling good and off to a good start. Klay Thompson can shoot you in and Klay Thompson can shoot you out. And he's been a volatile guy. He's been really good down the stretch. I mean, Golden State's got a lot of talent on their roster when everything's clicking. But I'll tell you, Jerry, you know this from being on the bench. The Warriors have great depth, but in some ways, when everybody's healthy, it makes it a problem because they really don't have a defined rotation. And sometimes Kerr's had more games this year where 24 hours after the game, he's like, I should have gone with this guy. I should have gone with that guy. I should have went with this combo. I mean, I'm not saying they're too deep because, what's too deep, but they've got a lot of players that are similar. Some are older, some are younger, and Kerr sometimes is kind of betwixt and between as far as what combinations to go with. And, he's openly questioned himself this year about his combinations. And if he gets it right, they can look great. But if he gets it wrong, he winds up saying it 24 hours later, hey, I should have gone with this guy more. He just did it the other night. I forget who it was, but he said, hey, I should have, it was Trace Jackson Davis. He played him 22 minutes. And he said, hey, I probably should have played Trace Jackson Davis a little more. So Jackson Davis is a rookie in name only, though. Played 4 years in the Big Ten. He's a shot blocker. He knows how to position his body. He can play the pick and roll game. He's a really heady rookie. So it'll be interesting to see how much run he gets in this game.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that I watched a lot because of Mike Woodson being the coach of Indiana and, really a friend and pulling for him. And I just couldn't believe it that Jackson Davis wasn't the first round pick. I just assumed he'd be a first round pick, and then the bloodlines with his dad, I think it's Dale Davis, right?
Right.
It's like, whoa, what's going on here? I think it's one of those things, Larry, where guys, well, he played 4 years in college. Well, yeah. So if he's 22, he can only play 10 years at a high level? What the hell? As opposed to a 19-year-old, you got to teach how to play it for about 3 years before you can even get any value out of him. So anyway,
what happened there, Jer, was Dunleavy. I believe Dunleavy's brother is his agent, and there was a big debate over he wanted that guarantee, that extra year guarantee as a second round pick, and so the Warriors, a lot of teams passed on him. I mean, think about it this way, Jerry. You've been a general manager. You've done all these roles. The Warriors had the 19th pick and the 57th pick and got Podziemski and Trace Jackson Davis, 2 real solid rotation players, 2 really good future NBA players. That's got to be as good a 1957 kick, production as I've ever seen in the draft. I mean, it's amazing, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's that. Well, I always say there are always some good second round picks, but I mean, Jokic might be maybe the best one, but still, I mean that's hitting home runs, late in the draft like that, and gives them a chance to stay afloat, as you pointed out. I mean, they're an aging team, but they got some. Of course, replacing superstars with good players still is not a very good. At some point, that doesn't work too well.
Well, let's get to some predictions here. I before I started doing this show, I had the Warriors because of a couple of things. They have Steph Curry and the Kings don't. They have been in all of these big games time and time again, and more times than not, they win. I know they're a little long in the tooth, but after listening to Larry talk about Curry and his ankle, that would concern me big time if I'm Golden State. But I don't like the way the Kings have played down the stretch. They have not shown the ability to put 48 minutes of good basketball together for quite a while now. And why would I think that within 48 hours, I'm talking about the last game they played at home against Portland, that they're going to figure everything out? I think they're going to miss Monk. Well, we know they miss Monk and Herter. I think the three-point shooting is going to be a factor. I don't see it. I think the Warriors win this game. I think it's going to be close, but I just don't have a good feeling. Larry, I know you think the Warriors are not going to win. We'll get to you in a minute. But Jerry, what's your prediction for this one?
Well, one thing I want Larry to be right. I truly want you to be right, Larry. But I guess it's just I'm scared of Curry. I am too. I mean, it's he's just one of those guys that's like LeBron James. Until he's dead, he's not dead.
Right.
And he's a game changer, or can be. We've seen it so often. But I think the Warriors have been playing the best of late, and they're deeper. And if they get between Curry and by the way, I was reading the thing the other day, some fan called it the Splash Brothers versus the Spray Brothers. And, I kind of think, the history's on the side of the Splash Brothers a little more than the Spray Brothers so far.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. I'm with you, and I hope Larry's right too. And I'm actually going to go the opposite way, because I think this pressure cooker of a season in Sacramento, the pressure has been let out of the cooker a little bit. I think they're just going to roll the ball out there and play. And one of the biggest problems they've had is defending the perimeter. Now, that's somewhat of a strength of the Kings. And we talk about the meetings this season between the teams being decided, 3 of them by a point. Well, they haven't played since January 25th. Both teams are dramatically different, with Larry saying Curry maybe at 70%. If the Kings get to the free throw line, stay at par on the rebounds, the Warriors are the best in the league at doing that, and they shoot between 40 and 45 threes, the Kings win the game.
Warriors have been great on the road. Really good on the road.
Yeah,
but
they have.
There's a big, big difference between regular season road and playoff road. And I'm going to go with my theory on guys in their prime. I mean, Sabonis prime, Keegan Murray prime, Barnes prime, Fox prime. These guys are in their prime, and I think that this to me is going to be Mike Brown's moment in the sun. I think this is, if he's going to have to do a sell job, the Warriors are coming in with tremendous confidence. The Warriors are looking at this as, we're going to win this game, and then we're going to win the next game, and we're going to, get into that first round series, and we're going to make something happen. And Kerr's done a great convincing job, but too old, too young. And I don't think they're going to have an answer for Fox. I don't think they're going to have an answer for Sabonis. And I think Sacramento's relative health. I think if Sacramento comes out in the right mindset, which is loose, and they get off to a nice hot start, Warriors, I think, will start to force it a little bit. I don't believe in Clay in all these big moments at this point. He's up and down. I really don't believe in Wiggins. I think the Kings are still an ascending team that had a couple of bad injuries, where the Warriors are the sun is setting. on the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think
It
it's
will
gonna,
really set if they lose tomorrow, Larry. I think you can pretty much pull the curtain down on this great run they've had. Agreed?
Yeah. I think this offseason they're going to have to come to grips with, Joe's like, we're going to stay on top. Joe, you're a self-made billionaire. You built a beautiful, opulent palace, but you're crazy. The NBA, Father Time is undefeated, and I'll take Sacramento. I really think Fox is going to go off, and I think the Warriors are going to have struggle against Sabonis. If this were a 7-game series, the Warriors, think about it, guys. The Warriors have been so good in these series of taking a tough loss in game 1 or 2 and then making the right adjustment as the series goes on, and swinging the thing in their favor. They don't have that luxury here. They're going to be on the road. They're going to be feeling like, oh, we're good on the road. This is the playoffs on the road. The crowd's going to be going. They're not going to be able to hang with Sabonis and Fox, and I like Sacramento to get off the canvas. I don't think Sacramento's going anywhere, but I think this is their big win. This saves, in a lot of ways, this saves their season and sends them into a off season where they continue to kind of stay on their trajectory of getting better and better.
Guys, I'm wondering, before we wrap this up, I wanted to just get your take on what we saw on Sunday. The Lakers went into New Orleans and not only won that game, they embarrassed them. And so here we go, 48 hours later. Jerry, I want to start with you. Were you surprised at how the Lakers won that game? I know they've been playing very well. And what do you think in this matchup with these two teams tomorrow?
Well, I was really surprised that the Lakers would. I just felt the Pelicans were the better team. The fact that the Lakers spanked them as much as they did probably gives the Pelicans all the motivation they need. So I would almost tend to bet on them in this particular game. One thing, Larry, on the Kings, the worst thing they've got going for them, they're at home. They're better. Yep. I think they're better on the road too. They ought to have said, we don't want a home game. We'll play at Davis or somewhere. Yeah. Just play midway. But anyway, this whole thing, I'd be hard to predict. I would predict the Pelicans in that game. I just think it's home for them, and they were embarrassed. And whatever game they got, they'll bring it.
What about you, Rhino?
Yeah, I'm with Jerry for some of the same reasons. Obviously, LeBron's LeBron. Same problem the Kings are going to have with Curry tomorrow. But look, many of the younger stars in the NBA who have been injured a lot or just haven't played because of rest management, guess what? They played a lot of basketball this year. So if New Orleans is going to take that next step, it's got to be Zion. It's got to be that crew. It's their time. I think they come out, beat the Lakers, and take the torch, at least for this year.
Larry?
Pelicans are basically a 500 team at home, and Anthony Davis was fresh. He hadn't played. He had 30 and 11. I just think that, the Lakers got a great game out of Reeves. LeBron had 17 assists and got into an incredible rhythm. Rui's playing good ball. Things came together. I think if Lakers and Pelicans played 10 times, Pelicans would probably win 8. But the Lakers got them that night, and the Lakers are totally different team with and without Anthony Davis. And the Pelicans are a team that, for whatever reason, presses a little bit at home.
Larry, really appreciate you joining us, man. Really proud of what you've been able to do, and your YouTube channel's kicking ass. Keep it up, my friend, and hopefully we can talk to you in the near future.
Absolutely, Grant. Anytime, man. Always fun.
That's good. Great stuff from Larry Krueger. All right, guys, before we go, Jordi Fernandez, Kings lead assistant, is going to be taking the Brooklyn job. He is going to stay on with Sacramento as long as their season goes. I'm not surprised. He was very close to getting the Suns job. I don't think the Brooklyn job's a good job, but I don't think he's in a position where he can really pick and choose. But Jerry, we'll start with you. Your thoughts on that?
Well, he's obviously been on people's lists, and certainly good reason that he would be getting a head job. And as you said, it's not a great job right now, but they have ownership's got a lot of money. Yeah. And as an assistant, you can't be choosy. If you want to be a head, there's only so many head jobs and there's only so many openings per year. So but it's a great break for him. And and really happy for him. Obviously, gives him a great opportunity.
If Brooklyn's going to get better, they're going to have to do it on the defensive end unless they go out and spend a ton of money. And I love them bringing in Jordi. I think it's a tough gig for him because he's going into a huge market as a first-time head coach. But to counter the Knicks and some of their success, great things, and very happy for him.
Okay, so let's talk about tomorrow real quickly. Ryan, I know you got a big pregame planned, and we're going to be on at halftime and the postgame. What's going on, Rhino? Is Damon Bruce going to be joining you?
Yeah, we are going to do a dual pregame show. It's going to go out to his Warrior fans and our Kings fans. That's going to be at 3:00 tomorrow. It's going to be earlier than normal, but we'll be breaking down the game, getting takes from you guys, and really looking forward to it.
That's awesome. Well, I know that Jerry, I hope we're wrong, but Larry brought this up a couple of times. To me, it makes absolutely no difference where this game's being played. If you're Golden State, they've been through this. More than any other team in the NBA. Now, you may not say that about the younger players like Kuminga and everything, but the point is, they're going to win or lose this game on their vets, and the vets don't care about being on the road, right? It's a non-factor to me.
Total non-factor, and no, it really means nothing, and certainly a road game, especially to Sacramento, 90 miles, it makes it even. No, absolutely not. And it would be the same thing for Sacramento going to Golden State, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, exactly.
The best team should win, short of maybe officiating some mistakes or something like that.
That's the wild card, right? How are they going to call it? If you send the Warriors to the line a ton, that's going to be a problem for the Kings. So look for that. I think the Kings, Jerry and Grant, have to test the whistle early, don't you think?
Yes, I do think so. And I think Draymond Green already has gotten a technical word just came down that he's already gotten one technical before he arrived in the building. So, and I laugh, but those are the things that you never know with that guy. You just never know. He could do something so stupid where he affects the outcome of the game. So there's always that as well.
Well, and the thing that gets me is, really and truly, Draymond really ought to be kicked out of every game he's played by the first quarter. If officials really called the game, and treated him like they do everybody else.
Right.
His outburst. It's a little bit like DeMarcus used to be. Cousins. Yeah. Really and truly, and the referees will tell us he'd just wear them down, and they let him get by with so much stuff. So, but that's one of Draymond's strengths. I think he's able to kind of control the game sometimes from that position.
Well, it's going to be a fun night, guys. Let's hope that we're doing a couple of more shows with games. It would be great to win 2 games and get into the dance and play Oklahoma City. That would be fun to watch Fox and SGA going head to head. I'll tell you that.
Sure would. And I thought Larry Krueger just made some great points. And like I say, I sure hope I'm wrong, but I'm just as scared of Curry and Kerr. Both. And they've been there, done it. And Coach Kerr probably is. He and Eric Spoelstra, I think, are just the best now at game time adjustments, things of that nature.
Yeah, and
right,
I want to
tell you real quickly. I want to get this in real quick because if you've got a pet and you need an outstanding veterinarian hospital, here's the bottom line: they're full service. All right, surgery, dentistry, they do it all. And the bottom line is at Gold Country Veterinarian Hospital, when your pet needs to be seen, they are available. They have the most advanced technology. They have outstanding pain management protocols. It's all there for you at Gold Country Veterinarian Hospital. And again, the key here is when your pet needs to be seen, they are available. That is Gold Country. And I want to tell you about Fosters and Paws. They are a group of passionate animal advocates. They do great things. They work primarily with dogs in shelters. They work with families. They teach young people the lifelong benefits of having a pet. And they've got puppies available right now. They're looking for donors, fosters, and to adopt their puppies right now. They are available. So if you go to fostersandpaws.org/adopt, you can get yourself a puppy. We appreciate them and their sponsorship. Go ahead, Rhino.
Yeah, I felt like, and I'll kick it to you guys, and I wanted to ask Larry, I'm kind of up in the air about this Sabonis thing. The Warriors have really confused and taken Sabonis out of his game in big games when it matters. And with Trace Jackson Davis a little bit more athletic, is that an advantage for the Warriors or actually for the Kings?
Well, that's a great question. I think that just the fact he's not as big and strong as Looney might help in some ways. But Jackson Davis is a lot more lively and athletic. So I think that, it really will come down to Sabonis. They're going to give him shots, and he's got to take some of them. He's been a 38% three-point shooter. He's got to take some of those. He shoots a higher percentage than most of the so-called shooters. And if they're wide open, comfortable, take them. And especially that little 12 to 15 footer that when he's getting into the dribble handoff, that they back off.
See, I don't think it's an advantage for the Warriors for this reason. I already saw what happened last year in the 7 games where they took Sabonis completely out of the playoff series, and a lot of it was because of Looney. So, I mean, if I'm looking at this from Sacramento's perspective, I'm like, yeah, give me anybody else on Sabonis other than what I saw last year in the playoffs. So I think it is an advantage for Sacramento, personally.
Well, I just didn't know if it changes the way they play Sabonis, because I think that Jackson Davis can do some things, as Jerry pointed out, that Looney couldn't.
Yeah, well, he can. One thing Sabonis can do to Jackson Davis that he couldn't do to Looney offensively is bang him to the basket.
Right.
Right. I mean, he can. Jackson Davis is going to be the kind of guy in 3 or 4 years he probably can't, but he can do it now and muscle him to the basket. And neither team really has shot blocking, so that's not a real concern.
Guys, it should be a lot of fun tomorrow. Ryan, have a great show with Damon tomorrow at 3. Jerry, we look forward to having you on at halftime, and then post-game show, folks. This is the place to be, right here on If You Don't Like That. Thanks to Larry Krueger from the Krug Show for joining us as well. It's going to be a fun night tomorrow, guys. Let's hope it's a real fun night, and we have a hell of a post-game show.
It'd be great. Can't wait.
Light the beam.
Can't wait.
All right.
Light the beam.
Enjoy the rest of your Monday night. Game on tomorrow. Going to be fun. Join us here on If You Don't Like That. Bye-bye.